What can we do to get him to move a little bit? I wish that there was a window because there are two books in the Bible that are really difficult to translate. The first one, guess what the first one is? Revelation. Because of all of its imagery and all of its nuances, is the Hebrew author is writing to people that have a lot of pre-knowledge about the Old Testament, about how not to, is the Hebrew author is writing to people that have a lot of pre-knowledge. The Old Covenant and the New Covenant of Jesus through His blood, that we have this new relationship with Him, and it's through love. And so the key to it, that you do not refuse Him who is speaking. In verse 25, he said, to say, Grandma Jeannie knew exactly what she was saying, although it was intended to save her TV. For God spoke, it shook, right? And everybody had fear and trembling. Because if you say another word, here's the new covenant. You don't have to worry about that. Here's the new covenant. You don't have to worry about that. A lot of atheist people that would say, do not read that. And it would, for a long period of time, we're in captivity by Egypt. And God finally says, I'm going to a rock in a hard place. There they are at the Red Sea, this sea, and they walk on dry land to the other side. And as they get, God calls him very specifically, he's Abraham, I'm going to make you a great nation. And God calls him very specifically. So God blesses him with this son by the name of Isaac. Happy, right? Contradiction. And so Abraham, contradiction. And so Abraham, and through his son, because of Abraham's, God is about to do something real. What the Hebrew is about to do something real. What the Hebrew author is ultimately saying, whenever what's going on in the Middle East, I'm here to tell you, ultimately saying, whenever what's going on in the Middle East, I'm here to tell you, I don't really know. Calamity happens upon that nation, whenever war in the Middle East, is that God is speaking. Or that's what my hope is. I do have hope, and that's what my hope is. I do have hope. My hope is. I do have hope, and I do have faith that Jesus will return again. And I do have faith that Jesus will return again. But I do believe whenever shaking starts happening, turn off the TV. It's happening, turn off the TV. Turn off the distractions because God is speaking. God is speaking. There's a difference between your everyday inconveniences where we all, if we all see what we see in the physical, we will miss what God is really physical. We will miss what God is really doing in the spiritual. I didn't recognize it until I started to hear rain falling. I pulled up my radar on my phone. You hope that the weatherman will start giving you something that is, no, you will wait until the pilot comes on with an update. Because you have a local theme that threads from the beginning to the end. It's just one word. You can see it throughout. It's kingdom. 28, this is what it declares. Therefore, that cannot be shaken. I'm going to pause it right there. 12, that discipline is for your good. 12, that discipline is for your good. It doesn't seem welcoming there. We bring attention as well. And so, God is speaking this truth. He won't leave. It's established. He's with you, and what remains needs to remain. Rahab, she lived in the red light district. We'll just say that. And one of you. And that God shows favor upon me. And history shows is that she ends up becoming the image that we see here is that there was a portion of the wall that remained. The wall that remained did not fall. God did not fall. God kept her in her place from shaking, even though that everything around her kept her in her place from shaking, even though that everything around her was shaking, even though that everything was unstable around her was shaking, even though that everything was unstable around her, she had the stability. It's all tied. She had the stability. It's all tied to God's kingdom. So this right to God's kingdom. So this writer of Hebrews shows us of the shaking. Are you ready? Whenever it feels like that our world is shaking, we make what is called a gratitude. That our world is shaking, we make what is called a gratitude list. Gratitude list. Out the problems. Out the problems. You don't have to say out the problems. You don't have to say, thank you, God, my life is shaking right now. No. He takes the minnows and he takes the crackers, the disciples' response was, we can't solve this problem. It's too big. It cannot be shaken. Let us have grace by which we may serve God. And so, even in the hard times, my expression to you is look for ways to serve and glorify Him. Bad news for the animal. Good news for the people of God. Because that whenever allowing our consuming experiences in our lives not to destroy us. Do you hear me? He is not saying that we draw to are the people that have overcome so many circumstances and they use that to glorify God. I was going through this. And some of you, again, I'm not here to give you global news. What's shaking in your life? There's a menu there, and you can order a number 1 or 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Really good news is because what they are ultimately doing is not spitting. Is that sometimes even through the shaking, there's a time.